Hi, gays. We're talking breakups, breakdowns, and breakthroughs here on Good Day Gay Podcast. Hi, gays. Welcome back to another episode of Good Day Gay Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Ray, along with my co-host, Paulie B. What's up, Paulie B? How's your week going?
My week's been good. It's like hay fever season here in Australia, like in Adelaide especially. So yeah, you're gonna have to endure the cough for another third episode. But before we let me just show you something. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been listening to the podcast.
Oh,
And
yes.
I just want to show everyone this. Okay.
So
Okay,
we got
I'm gonna
clean
do this in the
mouth.
morning. I'm gonna do this in the morning when I wake up before the gym.
Clean mouse. Okay, so let's talk about. Well, first of all, yes, we do want to thank everybody who has been following the Instagram page, been liking the content, had been following the episodes on YouTube. We're working on getting it on Spotify and Apple podcasts. So we're working on it. We're working on it. I look, we can only move so fast. We can only do so much because 24 hours is, so much in a day. On top of staying ripped and having nice bodies, right? So what's going on? How's your week going? Anything happen? What do we want to talk? What do we want to tell the audience that you've experienced this week?
What have I experienced this week?
It's
I don't know
Halloween
why.
week. It's Halloween week.
It's Halloween week, yeah. And Halloween isn't exactly something that Australians celebrate, but it's really building like traction here in Australia now. So like parents are taking their kids out for trick-or-treating, people are having chocolate ready at the door,
Love.
Halloween themed parties. I'm going to a Halloween themed party tonight.
Cute.
It's really becoming a thing in Australia. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We did a Halloween party here.
Yes, I saw.
It was Harry Potter themed. So we had the hallway with the floating candles, the thunder and the clouds. And then just Halloween week is so big for me because starting on the 27th is Dia de Muertos for people's pets. So that happens actually before Day of the Dead, which is November 1st. And so there's like this crossover between all the Halloween decorations. It was like the day after the party, but we also wanted to leave the Halloween decorations up so that my nieces can come experience this and they can trick or treat around the block. And then strike it all down, and now we are into Dia de Muertos. As you can see, this is the overflow of the ofrenda because we had so much excess stuff. So our fireplace is crazy, full of like family photos and marigolds and candles and skeletons, and it's just been a plethora. Oh, and offerings. So it's very important in Mexican culture to get offerings and have items that were those of the deceased so that they can revisit and kind of come back and immerse themselves back into the living world. So my grandmother's favorite Mexican bread was like it's a pink one. It's a pink ball and there's like coconut dust around it. So we have some of that on there. Huh?
Yum. That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. Girl, look, that thing slaps. I didn't realize how much it slapped until I got older. And then my grandfather's hat. He used to be a softball coach, so I have his hat on the mantle, as well as I have the Dodgers' original World Series ring because the Dodgers won the World Series the other day. So we have a replica ring, and that's also on the mantle because my grandfather was a huge Dodgers fan. He actually kind of had like a friendship with Tommy Lasorda, who was the manager back in the day. So yes, so we have all the offerings. We also have a cup of water because the thirsty tends to the dead tends to be thirsty. So you always want to offer something to drink and their favorite item. So yes, Day of the Dead is alive and well. So there's going to be a lot going on in the next few days for Day of the Dead.
Nice.
But we're talking about our breakdowns, breakups, and breakthroughs. So let's rip the Band-Aid on off, and let's get right into it. Um, breakups in your 30s. So, how are
Mm,
breakups in your 30s opposed to um breakups in your 20s or when you first come out? And so, let's talk about how our experience has been. So, I'll let
mm.
you go ahead first, and then I'll chime in when you're ready.
Yeah. So I've had three big relationships in my life, and so um, I've dated three. Yeah, I've had three big relationships in my life, and they all happened within my 20s. So my last relationship broke up when I was around 29 years old. So I haven't experienced a breakup in my 30s, but I would say that I've experienced a lot of situationships ending. Um, and I think one thing for me is that for people that know me, they know that when I love, I like love hard and like 100% and I'm all in. But when I'm all out. And I guess that's what happened with my breakup. So I got to a point in the three relationships where I was like, I'm done. I'm ready to move on, and I've moved on. So for me, I haven't experienced a breakup in my 30s, but I think what's harder for me, especially, is like if I haven't made the decision to move on, which I guess has been the case with a lot of my situationships, then that's been the difficult part to, to move on from something that you didn't exactly think was going to end. Like you thought it could go somewhere, it could lead out of the situationship phase. And
Hopeful,
yeah,
hopeful romantic.
hopeful. I am a hopeful romantic, which
Yeah.
I try to be a cold hard bitch, but oh bitch. But I don't know. I honestly wear my heart on my sleeve, and that's just something about me.
Do a lot of times when my friends ask me for dating advice, I
Mhm.
always tell them because I could be like, I don't like the person you're with. You need to leave them today, tomorrow. Right, right. I can tell you what to do and I can tell you exactly where you're at. But a lot of times I end up telling my friends, like, I get it. Like, you might not even want to be in this relationship, but only you know when you're done.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
only you know when that right moment is to move, and we can only judge you so far or so much for that. But until you're ready to move on, I just have to be your friend and support you. And
yeah.
so actually my best friend Marsha, like shout out to Marsha. Um we were recently having a conversation and she's like, I think the best thing that you can do in relationships, we were talking about like the episode that was coming up. And she's like, you need to offer your partner or your spouse, even a friend, you need to offer them, do you want me to comfort you right now or do you want
Mm.
solutions?
Yes. Yeah.
And so when it comes to a relationship, like which we'll get into later about communication, but definitely there is a difference when your friends are complaining to you about they're bad relationships or it's just a bad
Yeah.
day in the relationship.
Yeah.
So you got to
Yeah.
know, you have to be able to differentiate that, right? Because like you said, you're all in and you're all out, right? So I would be the friend that's like, okay, so this is what they're doing and this is the third time that they've done this, but I understand you're only going to be done when you're done. So what do you need from me? Right?
Yes. Yes. And I think that I very much try to be that friend to my friends as well when they come to
Hmm.
me for if they want to talk about something or they want to talk about the guy that they're seeing or relationship advice. I try very hard to be that friend that just lays out the facts, and if I have a feeling, I'll say it, because in all of my breakups, in all of my situationships ending and all of that kind of stuff, those were the friends that were really comforting me. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my best friend, I love her because she will tell it to me straight. And I know I'm being crazy when I'm being crazy, but she will literally be like, "You're being crazy right now." And I would just be like, "I know, but listen to me." Like
I know, but you need to just go along with what I am crazy. And so, hello.
that's it.
Um,
That's it.
that's fair. I've have I been I haven't been in a breakup in my 30s, but I will say, and I just had this happen.
Okay. Okay.
I and it would this wasn't a breakup, but I guess like friendships, just maturity in general in your 20s
Mm.
versus your 30s is so
Mhm.
huge,
Mhm.
right? So recently there was someone uh where we're just kind of like Instagram friends, messaging each other like, are we let's hang out, let's hang out. It never happened, right? And then this person is in their 20s and their thing was like, well, if we're not gonna hang out, you should just unfollow me. And so the other day, I got up and I was like, you know what? I probably should just go in and unfollow because like we're not gonna hang out. We really don't even communicate like that anymore. Like, like I'm still new-ish to the area because I travel so much for work that I really don't get out in my neighborhood. And so I'm like, cool, like let's hang out, let's hang out, let's hang out. Obviously, I'm so busy all the time. And then when I tell you the amount of messages that just came into my inbox, not only on Instagram, but through text messages, I was like, well, first of all, through text message, I was like, who is this? Right? Because I didn't know. Like there was a couple people I unfollowed because it was like, I'm not seeing all my friends' stories. And so I'm trying to change the algorithm. Like I want to
Yeah.
see the people I communicate with so I can appreciate their content, their posts, or like comment, like get my commentary on their life and how good they look or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, boop, 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 boop. Maybe like maybe I did like, and plus like all these influencers, right? I've been trying to support more Hispanic influencers. So I'm trying to remove all the ones that are not Hispanic or like, like the minority. So I had no idea who was. I was like, who is this? And it was just like boom, 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 message after message after message. And I was like, yeah, you could tell you're in your 20s. I was like, boop, block. Went on Instagram, block. I'm like, I'm just not doing this because the maturity and insecurity with someone is so loud. Anytime they start speaking up, you're unimpressed. So in this
Yes.
situation, it wasn't a breakup, right? But it was like a friendship kind of breakup.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's two types of friendship. Well, we can even get it again, breakups, breakthroughs, and breakdowns, right?
Yeah.
We can keep going into friendships, right?
Yeah.
So there's two types of friendship breakups. The ones that are dramatic and you're gonna go around, you're gonna talk bad about each other. And then there's the other one that's like, cool. Like we're not really like vibing, we're not really hanging out. Like we can see each other in public, say what's up, and keep moving on. And I think that's the difference between your 20s and your 30s is in your 20s, you want everybody on your side. And in your 30s, you're too tired to have people on your side. So you're like, if I got 3 people on my corner, I'm winning, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, that I totally agree. And I think that ties into like what I was talking about before, which was I find it difficult to accept that, maybe something has ended. But
Yeah.
I'm also in my 30s now. I have gone to therapy, I have learned about myself, and I have learned that that's one of the traits that I deal with. But in my 20s, like, oh my gosh, I look back in my 20s and I honestly can see that I was dramatic. Like, I've got drama tattooed on my leg. Shout out to Dimmy in Vancouver. We've got matching drama tattoos on our legs. It's one of my favorite tattoos. Um, and like drama on my leg, it's just for fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love it.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I was extra. Like, I was extra when it came to guys, and sometimes I look back at that and I go, "Oh, oh," like, but in my 30s now, I feel very accepting of what it is, and so it is that difference between 20s and 30s.
I feel like in my 20s, I had a little bit of drama. Like I was a little dramatic, but I was more dismissive.
Okay,
Like, and
yeah.
and I will say, like, well into my 30s, I'm still dismissive. Like, and
Mm.
not even dismissive in a sense of like, I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm more dismissive as in like, I don't have time for this. I'm a hustler.
Yeah,
Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a hustler and I'm always juggling 5, 6, 7 projects at one time. And so I don't have time for all the BS in between. And so it's just one of those things where if I saw that things were going downhill, I'm like, I don't want to be around you. And then
yeah,
it's like, you're so fake. You were gone. And I'm like, you're so fake. Like, I don't have time for this. You're out here like causing problems, getting into trouble. I want to keep my nose clean. I've always wanted to keep my nose clean. And so again, like I was dismiss. There was a couple people where I'm like, oh my God, don't talk to them. They're so fake. But my mom always told us, don't ever talk, don't ever say something bad about someone else who doesn't know the other person, because the next thing you know, those two people are going to become best friends. And then you're going to get thrown under the bus like, oh, Russell said that you weren't a good person and that you're a bad person. And then they're best friends now. And you're on the outs. And now everyone thinks this about you. And it's like, you might have just not vibed with that person.
Yeah.
When people try to ask me about someone else, I'm like, they're cool. Like, I don't really know them like that.
Yeah. I'm very much a person that's like it's all about energy. Do you know what I mean? And I think if you know yourself and you know your own energy, then you can pick up when someone's energy isn't genuine or someone's character isn't genuine. And so I guess in those moments, that's when you make that decision where you're like, okay, I'm not going to talk bad about anyone or say anything about anyone to this person, because I already know that I'm getting an ingenuine feeling from this person and I don't want that to bite me in the ass next time. So I think, yeah, I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's about like, who can you trust and who do you bounce good energy off of? And I think that's something you learn in your 30s.
You know what? I recently reconnected with somebody from college. His name is Lavernus, and his boyfriend Bryant. And when you talk about energy, Lavernus is such good energy. Like, this is, we've gone out 2 times within, I think, like 2 weeks. And every single time we go out, it's a whole vibe. Like, we're just dancing to music, we're having a couple drinks, we're laughing, we're joking. We really kind of just vibe together. And he was so surprised the other day to find out I was an Aquarius. And he's like, I feel like Aquarius are more reserved. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I've always just been the person that's bouncing off the walls. And so, like, I'm all about a good time, but I also will give you the same energy that you give me, right? So, because I feed off of that. So it was so nice because I ran into him at my friend Tiffany's birthday, and we had lost contact a little bit because life happens. I moved to San Francisco. I was all over traveling all over the place. And so now that I'm back in SoCal, Tiffany's like, come to my birthday. So I came and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Like, let me get your number. Like, let's reconnect, come through for Halloween. And he's like, oh my God, yeah. So he came over for the party. And we've just been vibing ever since. And like, we're just bouncing off each other when it comes to jokes, and nothing is serious, right? Like, he's like, I'm not going to play with you. Like, you know what I mean? And we're just out to have a good time. And so I try to cling to those people. But if you have those people who want to make the night a bad night, I will sit in the corner and I won't say 2 words, because like, I'm just not going to feed into it. I won't even dance. And I love to dance. But
Yes.
we could both be a buzzkill, and now we're both mad, right? But I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna get tacos at the Taco Man when I go home, and I'm gonna eat in my living room. But there's those people who things go well when you're in the room together. There's not an ounce of drama. You know what I mean? And that's reconnecting with Lavernus has been such a breath of fresh air because it's just been so easy. And his boyfriend like fits right into the whole conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been great. We're kind of getting off of
that's what I thought.
topic.
We're talking about like getting together with friends, and we need to talk about breakups. We need to break that up.
We do. So now let's talk about breakdowns in a relationship, right? Oh gosh. Look.
Yeah.
So I wrote some notes. Oh, and I lost my notes.
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh no moment.
This is an oh no moment.
Oh no.
Okay, here we go. Breakdown. So like I have some things in my notes here, and one of them is common triggers for breakdowns, in gay relationships, and the other one is the pressure to settle down. And also coping with mental health challenges together, because as we're progressing, life is changing. Especially, I don't really know how the economy is right now in Australia, but the economy here is growing. However, inflation is ridiculous. The amount of people that are just doing returns because they buy things for their life and they realize this is going to add up in the end, and I shouldn't have a place for this, or like I shouldn't buy this. Returning jackets, t-shirts, pants, shoes, because it's like I have what I need. I have the necessities.
Mm.
Um, but I want to talk about these common triggers
Yep.
for breakdowns in gay relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those triggers I have found in myself have
Okay.
been prioritizing my career,
Yep.
expectations of me in social settings,
Mm-hmm.
and well, this one isn't necessarily for me, but uh this one is like notes from friends, but fear of commitment. I'm a committed bitch. Let me
Mm.
tell you, I will commit. Okay, we'll get the U-Haul. We will
Oh,
move. Um, and infidelity. So let's start at the top
yeah.
with
Let's start with the
careers.
top. Yeah, let's do it.
So how do you, like? I think it's my toughest hurdle in a relationship is putting my career on the back burner because I have a day
Mm,
job.
mm,
And if I'm a very creative person, so if I'm not
mm,
doing something to create, then like I'm going nuts in my head. So like
mm,
doing this
mm,
podcast and
mm,
like building the elements and like, I'm not building it as fast as I would like to on my end when it comes to the intros, the outros, editing, all these other things. But
mm.
it's the flow is coming back, which is like when you were like, are we like, let's do this? And we
Yeah.
got to be like committed every weekend. So yeah, we're here
Yes.
for you every weekend, y'all.
Yes.
Um, so that's my thing is like really putting my career forth instead
Mm,
of I don't want to be the person who wakes up in 30 years and was like, I worked my regular 9 to 5. And for some people, that's great. For me, it's not. If I'm not accomplishing and not continuously growing, there's an
yeah.
issue for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes back to the whole thing about relationships. And, I'm currently single, but I do feel like it's that saying of like, you have to be able to bring something into a relationship. Like,
Mm,
you can't feed off the other person. So I think it's important to know if you have a career goal or if you have things in life that you're aspiring towards. And if that's something personal to you, I think it's important to know that because that's essentially like a light that you're bringing into a relationship to be like, hey, like this is me, I'm career driven, I'm a creative person as well, so I like to do this weekends and I like to express my creativity. So I think it's that understanding of yourself, and if you
mhm.
don't have that understanding on yourself, then you would do things like put your career on the backbone for a relationship for a guy. Like, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Look, I'm always throwing broadcasting right to the front. Like I will not go out and like go to events because I'm like,
Mm,
no, I'm broadcasting. I gotta submit these casting tapes. I gotta network. I gotta get on LinkedIn. And I will, and people think it's so odd. But I
mm,
have friends that are like, dude, like I want your, I please teach me, or like, just different things and elements that I get asked all the time. And I'm like, what are you willing to sacrifice? You know what I mean?
mm.
Like this is almost
Trade-off.
10 years down the line and I'm still
Mm.
sacrificing. So you got to pick and choose, like, what do you want?
Mm.
And so it's nice because I do have supportive friends that are like,
Yeah.
all right, it's totally cool. Don't worry about it. Like, do you like work on it? Like, I'll support you in any way that I can.
Mm,
And the
mm,
ones that don't get cut. Uh so but like again, when it comes to relationships, I part of the reason I left my last relationship is
mm,
because the comment that was made to me just set a light bulb off in my head, right? So I had been working the red carpets, I was doing these press junkets. There was so much pressure for me to continuously spend time
mm,
with this person's family. And I'm like, oh my gosh, every time I wanted to do something for my career, it was a fit. A fit was thrown. It was always an issue. And then there was that one point he's like, you really got to put all your effort into this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying, but every time I don't go with you and your family somewhere, you throw a hissy fit.
mm,
And
mm,
it's always an issue. And I don't want to be around your family because I don't want to get drunk and wasted every weekend.
mm.
And he was like, and when are you going to give this up? Like, when are you going to get over this? And I was like,
Wait.
never. And that's the light bulb in my head that went
Mm,
off. I tell you, no sooner did I break up with him, I landed my first major television contract less than 8 months later. it was like, boom, the universe was like, here it is.
Yeah.
And some people can't handle stuff like that. So I think I was in the wrong place in order for the universe to give me what I wanted and what I needed, because the support wasn't going to be there and it was going to detract from what I was actually achieving. And so the fact that I left that relationship, I achieved my goals within less than 8 months.
Yeah, yeah. And it's those light bulb moments that, like, throughout life you have to be so grateful for when you have that light bulb moment. And if we're talking relationships, my last relationship, it was that light bulb moment where that was when I made the decision to end the relationship as well, because I had the light bulb moment that he's not exactly giving me what I need and what I've expressed to him.
Yeah.
Why am I here? And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just in that moment I thought, I have to leave. Like, I'm done. And yeah.
Dude, like, it really is that. And oh God, are we digging a hole right now? Are we gonna get the emotional level?
I
Are we
don't
gonna get
know. Part of
emotion?
me, I'm so
Are we gonna,
avoidant
you know
these
what?
days.
I gotta take my first of all, this is sitting in front of me, right? My prep has been sitting in front of me because I haven't taken it.
Should we take
Look,
it?
we need to take it, right? My day has been so busy, I haven't taken it. So here we go, y'all. Hold on.
Let's do a cheers.
Ooh. ASMR, ASMR, ASMR. Cheersing. Oh,
I can't believe that that's actually going to be online right now. Like, you and I just.
This ad has been brought to you by Discovery. Discovery.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Get tested in your local. Talk to your doctors and your sexual partners about getting tested. Even if you're in a fully committed relationship, get tested and stay on prep. You never know. There could be something lingering.
When you and I were
may cause headaches, nausea, upset stomach, diarrhea. In order to find out more about Discovery, go to www.discovery.com.
when you and I were talking about sponsorships this week, I didn't know this was going to be the sponsor. I thought we wanted Chipotle.
Look, food and prep. Come on, nothing is more gay friendly, okay, or more top friendly, more top friendly.
All right, we need to go down that list that you've got. Well, let's go down that list.
I'm gonna hit every single boom, boom, boom. We're hitting every single one of them, right? We're going to be the top-notch gay podcast, which leads me to say we are about halfway through our show. So please, if you haven't yet, please like our podcast, subscribe, head over to YouTube, share our links, share the reels, go to Instagram, share at Good Day Gay Podcast. Share it on your stories. We are working so hard to get you guys some funny content. Shane, not Shane, Paul and I will be DMing each other all the time about ideas about what we can do to market this to make it bigger. And we also have an announcement to make. Paul, would you like to do the honors?
You do the announcement.
Okay. So we're going to make a deal with y'all. Once we reach our first 1,000 followers on Instagram and subscribers, we will take the flights out to where we need to meet. So either I'm coming down to Australia or Paul will come this way, or we'll meet in a mutual location like Australia, and we will film in the same room for the first time. But we do need your help. We need you to like, we need you to subscribe, and we do need you to share. Talk about us to your friends. Give us your stories because we love to hear your stories. If you haven't heard last week's story about dating nightmares, please rewind that and go back to episode 2 because we got a viewer submission that will blow your socks off.
Oh gosh.
And if you have somebody that can sponsor us, please let us know so we can quit our 9-to-5s. No, really though. We like our jobs. We do. We prefer to full time because we want to bring y'all entertainment.
We're creative people. We need this. We need this outlet.
And if you didn't catch my Discovery pitch, you can rewind and watch it again. Just go Listerine, freshen up. Get all the germs in your mouth and in between, and all the in between crevices that you're kissing people with open mouths, and you're doing other things with your mouth that you might not do before. So please wash with Listerine. Now we're moving on to Vaseline. If you got chapped lips, please.
All right, we need to get back to breakups.
Okay,
Vaseline.
back to
Vaseline used bad
breakups
in
because my lip is
breakups.
breaking up right now. Okay, it's so cracked. Um, so let's talk about settling down. Is that a pressure for you now that you're in your 30s?
Honestly, no. I think that's why I've been single for so long now because I just won't settle at all. Like I I just won't settle at all. I'm just not that type of person that would. No.
So, okay, but there's a difference between settling and settling down. Do
Okay.
you feel a pressure? It like say you land your next relationship right soon. Is your immediate thought, how soon are we going to settle down? Because do you want kids?
Um, you asked me this in the first episode, and it honestly depends on
Oh,
who
it's a
who I'm with.
possibility.
Do you know what I
That's
mean? It's
right.
a possibility, but it depends on who I'm with. But in terms of your question about is settling down a pressure, obviously, you know, a lot of my friends are actually in relationships. Both my brother and my sister are married. My best friend, she's in a relationship. My friendship groups, like it's couples. Do you know what I mean? And so, and I set up two of those couples. So, yeah, come to me for setting you guys up. If you need if you need
Same.
setting up, if you need setting up, come to me. But also help me get set up. Yeah, so I would say that is there a pressure to settle down? I think being surrounded by love and being surrounded by relationships, it does add a bit of a pressure, but there's no envy there because I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I would like to share my life with someone because I feel like I've got a fun life and yeah, but again, like there is a pressure, but it's not getting to me. No.
So, what is your rule of thumb when it comes to marriage? How long do you think what do you think is a reasonable time that you're together before someone proposes?
Oh, and I suppose we're talking primarily gay relationships, right?
Yeah.
See, and that's where I don't know, like that's such a hard question because in my opinion, I think it depends on where you're both at in life. If is marriage something that you guys want? Is a legal status something that you both want? Like to me, the commitment's important. Before you can
Yeah.
become legally a status, like are you actually committed to each other? Are you actually committed to this relationship? So that's really the question for me. Like, is there a commitment there? And if you did want to take that to a legal status, are you going to be committed to that? That
I
yeah, I don't know.
think
What do
okay,
you
so I think if you don't know that if you cannot mentally verify with yourself that you want to marry the person, even if you're not getting married, right? But if you
Mm.
if you don't know within 3 years whether you want to marry this person, you're not in the right relationship.
What about then, like, you don't want to marry the person, but at 3 years you already know I'm going to be with this person for.
Yeah, this is my lifer. But if you don't know that at 3 years and you're still questioning whether you
Mm,
want to be with this person,
mm,
you're definitely in the wrong relationship. And I
yeah,
think that's been one of my breakthroughs in personal
okay,
growth now that I'm in my
yeah,
30s is that if you don't if you're not 100% factual about who you want to be with, then
mm,
you're not in the right. If you don't feel safe, then you're not in the right relationship. If you don't spend, and this is going to sound very bad, if you don't spend every moment of every day of every night of every morning thinking thinking about the person that you're in love with. No, but like really though, the person that you're in love with should be on the top of your mind. And if they're not constantly in your thoughts and you just like and it's not in your mind of like, I can't wait to get back to my person because that's your person. Um,
mm.
then you're not in the right relationship. But also part of my personal growth is also knowing that time apart can be great too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that it's okay to be apart and it's okay to have separate lives and having fun.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, me going out with Lavernus and his boyfriend and my best friend coming with me, like, we're just all vibing. It's a good time. No one's out to do anything bad or malicious, and no one's trying to get with anybody. We're just all having a good time. And
Mm,
Shane understands that that's my time because that's time
mm.
when I'm at work. I don't want to do nothing. But go to
Yeah.
sleep.
And touching on what you talked about, if you're not constantly thinking about the person day in, day out, I think that, and I haven't gotten past the honeymoon phase, but
Mm,
I think that there's a difference, obviously, between thinking about someone day in, day out, hours on end. Like, that can be toxic, but at the same time, it can be healthy as well. And I think that you're crazy. I think that at the same time, I think that at the same time, a relationship will go through waves. Do you know what I mean? Where
yes.
at the beginning of the relationship, it is that honeymoon phase where you're like, oh my God, like, what is he doing? Like, what's he
Yeah, yeah.
eating? Like, is he on the toilet right now? That's so cute. It will go from that to eventually to like, you know, I hope he's having a good day. Or do you know what I mean? Like, it will go
Y-
through waves. As the
Yeah, yeah.
relationship evolves, you'll go from being super into this person to being into this person, but not letting it consume you. And
Yes.
I think that's a great thing. Like, to be at a 3-year point to still think about someone that you love and to still think about, this is the hopeless romantic in me coming out right now. Like,
Yeah.
think about that. I think that's beautiful. Mm.
I think I'm also a hopeless romantic. Uh so like again, I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder how my person is doing." I'm always like, "My person." Or like if we're going out, like, "You're my person," like, "We're going out to dinner. My only focus is you." And
Yeah.
then we start taking shots and then it's like, "Ah!" I mean, and then we're like, raise it on the pool tables." And then it's like, "Where did he go? Hold on. Oh, there he is."
That's cute.
You know, but I really think as a personal growth journey before,
Mm. Mm.
in my 20s, I was more like, "Why am I not getting a text back? Where's my
Yes.
call at?
Oh my
Where's
gosh.
this? Where's that?" But if I'm gone on a work trip, like, he understands that I'm tired and I wanna decompress, I wanna work out, so it's like I'm working all day, I work out, and I just wanna hit the bed and I wanna come home the next day.
Mm,
And
mm.
so
And
I have that space. He gives me that space so I can do those things. And oh my gosh, I so appreciate that because sometimes I just don't want to interact with human people or humans just in the
yeah,
world. And I'm like, let me just woosah. Let me get this chest workout in. I want to feel good.
yeah.
I've done a bath bomb or two. I just need to have a little me time.
And I think that's when it comes back to the energy, like, to have that energy between you and your partner where it's like that mutual understanding of, I don't need to feel crazy and toxic because there's a mutual energy there. He can respect that I need to have this relaxation time. He can respect that I need to have him and I time. Like, there's the mutuality there, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I
Mm.
think that's so important. And I think in your 30s, you start to get that. You definitely
Yes,
start to get that because in your 20s, you don't get that. You're like, why are they not obsessed with me? And it's like, because they're
exactly.
not.
And maybe that's now where I like, so since my last, I've been single for like 4 years now, and since my last relationship, I didn't think I would ever. I must have just thought that if I wasn't feeling, it's that thing of psychology of, if you're not feeling that toxic feeling that your body's used to, then is this correct?
Mm,
Um, but I had, like, last year I had a little thing with someone and I didn't feel that. Like, I felt super secure and
yes.
and it was great and it was very foreign for me, but it was also really nice. And um Yeah, like I'm kind of experiencing that right now. Like, I don't know. I don't want
Oh,
to talk about it too much. Let's leave it at that. Let's move on.
okay, okay. It's enlightening. It's an enlightening moment to just know that you're in that place.
Exactly. Like it's
And I
just
think it's
nice
so
to
powerful.
yes, it's nice. It's nice. It's
It's
nice.
it's 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 a power move is what it is.
Yeah.
When you can disassociate
Mm,
from the insecurities and recognize, especially in LA, recognize that you're still a 10, but someone else can also be a 10. And that's okay. But you're that bitch.
you're that
Okay?
bit.
And we're going to walk through life knowing that. And so again, it's so enlightening to know that you have
Mm,
that power of just,
mm, mm,
the
mm.
insecurities aren't there.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's so great. And in your 20s, you're insecure because you're like, I'm not buff. I'm not buff enough. I'm not thin
Yeah.
enough. This waist ain't snatched enough. Now I'm like, I'm gonna have 20-piece wings and I'm gonna have some cheesecake and I'm gonna have this protein shake at the end of the night too, because I need to get my calories in. And I'm gonna have this pan dulce on Day of the Dead. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're also gonna hit the gym hard and we're gonna take this pre-workout.
Yes.
Um, what about sex?
Okay.
How do you associate sex now in a relationship opposed to in your 20s? And I feel like in your 20s, you're more like, oh, I need to stop saying like. In your 20s, you're more inclined to just be all over each other. And sex in your 20s, I feel, isn't as emotional
Mm,
and deeply connected as it is in your 30s. I feel in your 30s, sex is an emotional connection where two people are in one place versus in your 20s, you're more just hot and bothered and you just want to be all over each other.
I think that by your 30s, you've learned how to emotionally connect with another person through physical touch.
Yes.
Whereas in your 20s, it like you said, it's very much physical touch. Um and you might in your 20s you might be getting the physical touch mixed with the emotional side of things. And so I think that in your 30s you've spent a lot of time with yourself, you've maybe spent a lot of time with other men, um that you've oh my gosh, that you've then been able to differentiate, like, this is purely physical, or this is physical but there's a sense of emotion to this, and it
Mhm.
feels great. It feels great. Like, I think by your 30s you've learned that. You've had that realization, that light bulb moment.
It's an experience. It's an experience that you can't have until you you've been through prior experiences of, oh,
Mm,
this meant nothing. Even if it's with someone that you're dating at the time, it's
mhm,
like, oh, there was no connection in that whatsoever. It was very much because we both have really nice bodies because our metabolisms are fast, so we both look great versus you don't look the same in your 30s. And it's not a bad thing because I'm attracted to a wide range. Minus being like this. You just can't. It's just not my thing. You got to have some meat on the bones. I don't
I
want to
don't
eat. I don't want to go Buffalo Wild Wings and have no meat and breading on the bones. I don't want just the
I don't
bone.
honestly though, I don't mind this, but I love a broad shoulder, like a twink with broad shoulders. Ooh,
I love
ooh.
somebody that can eat.
Well,
And
twinks can eat.
I have not yet met a twink in America that
Okay.
can eat.
I was gonna be
Especially look,
here.
especially in Southern California, we're Mexicans, right? So you're gonna eat. Even if you turn down a plate, you're still gonna get a plate.
Mm,
First thing, look, the other day my best friend walked into the house and my mom was like, "Oh, there's pizza and there's food on the counter. I'm gonna make you a drink." Didn't even know if he was hungry, but I think I was running errands. I was doing something. My mom was here and I wasn't here yet. And sure enough, I walked in. Homeboy got a plate. He has a drink in hand. My mom has a plate. She has a drink in her hand. I'm like, oh, great. Everyone made themselves home perfect. Like, that's what I want, anyways. But I love somebody that can eat. My
I
friends can
feel
eat.
like
I can
that's
eat.
That's the test, you know what I mean? If you're seeing some guy, you bring him home to your mum. Like, for me, I would be bringing him to my family gathering, and I'd be watching how much food he's putting on his plate, and if he doesn't go back for a second dessert, a second plate of leche flan, then maybe it's over. I think it's over.
No, really though, really though. Look, like Niecy Nash Betts said when she was on Dancing with the Stars, you gotta like your jiggly parts, and we embrace our jiggly parts. Okay, and look,
Yes.
I've gotten thicker
Oof.
since in like the past 5 years. I put on
Yeah.
about like 25 pounds, 30 pounds,
What's
and
that
I
in
like my
kilos?
body way more now than I did back then.
Mm. Yeah, sorry, I had to do the maths because in Australia we do kilos. Um,
Oh
25 pound, that's like 12, 11 kilos, I think.
yeah, about
Yeah, yeah, but no,
like basically 12 kilos.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There is something like there's a sexiness and the confidence in your 30s when you're like, I'm thick, but I look good.
Yeah.
There's yeah. Are we going off topic
There's a
again? I
goodness about it. Like the muscle mass is a little heavier. You know, you get in the car and it goes down a little bit more, and you're like, that's weight right there, baby. Yes.
That's weight.
That's a weight. And that's a
Uh.
good weight. Right. But like you also know we're not going to shy away from a plate. And that is a
Mm.
breakthrough moment in your 30s. Like you don't have to be shy. Dig in. Like you should be dating. I'm not gonna say dating for marriage, but you should be dating for a lifer, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you should be dating to find your lifer as a person, and why not just be who you are right off the bat?
Mm,
Because if that
mm.
person don't like it, it's better that you find out sooner than asking yourself and then later find out. I
I'm
really didn't like this person.
I'm fairly sure, and I need people to confirm this if they're listening to this. I'm fairly sure I say on the first date that I'm crazy. Like, I tell it straight up. I'm crazy. And so there's the precursor, like, "Hey, I'm crazy." And then we have a second date.
It's expected in our culture. Like spicy Latinas, like it's all over TikTok. You can literally hashtag spicy Latinas, and it's like Mexicans find every reason to fight with you in a relationship.
Philippi
Like,
Filipinos just, like, took some food and they were like, "We'll take the crazy as well."
look, we love a good crazy. Um, I want to move on to the next thing because we're a little short
We
on time here.
are.
We got about 10
We
minutes
are.
before we got to wrap up. But
Yeah.
is it okay to have a crush on somebody when you're in a relationship
Define
in your
crush.
30s?
Define crush. Like,
So
yeah.
So there's different ones, right? There's Gym
Mm.
Crush,
Yes. Oof.
which I got about 6 of those.
I find a new gym the other day at the gym, there was someone that came in and I was just like,
And look,
he's
it's funny
added to
because
the
I
list.
don't want to be with that person. I don't want to do
Oh,
anything with that person. I'm
okay.
just more like, gosh, I appreciate you. You are just
Okay.
so I could just
Yeah.
Photoshop my head on yours just so I can see what I would look like that for a day. And then I'll just take because I like the way I
Okay.
look. But
So
I just
that's
want to see what I look like that. But I do have those gym crushes where I'm like, damn,
it's a crush
damn.
of appreciation. It's
Yes.
literally an appreciation. Okay. Crush of appreciation. What's the other definition, or like an
The other
emotional
crushes would be like you're actually enjoying flirting with somebody,
Mm, mm,
which again, a little flirt is fine. Like
mm.
if my significant other is flirting with somebody else, that's fine. It's natural, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about where you're setting that boundary
Exactly.
and how you're ending the conversation or how you're
Yes.
ending this interaction. So
And
that for me is like a thin line.
yeah, and that's what I was literally about to say, that, again, by your 30s, if you've got a gym crush and you're with someone, like, I'm hoping that they're joining in the conversation with me, being like, "Babe, did you see that guy's ass today?" Like, do you know what I mean? But then there's a difference between that as well as, like you said, the emotional flirting and the side of things, and all of that comes down to boundaries. Um,
Mhm.
if your partners then express like, hey, I don't really like when you do this, then they're essentially setting up a boundary, and that does make it not okay. So it all comes down to boundaries and communication. Communication is key, I'd say.
I will say in this relationship that I'm in currently, um, I'm straight blunt with someone's intents when they're talking to him. I'll tell them straight up, that's not your friend. That's not your friend. They have ulterior motives, or I'll like they're only your friend when you're around. And I feel like that's also a part of being in your 30s and being in a relationship and having open communication, is that I would expect my partner to be straight up with me. And we weed through the weeds, and some of them don't make it into the next year. They don't make it into they're not gonna make it in 2025. It's like, that's not your friend. We can say hi to each other. Again, we don't have to have problems, but I know that there's an ulterior motive. I always know when someone meets Shane if their intentions are pure, because the ones that have no intention on pursuing anything else or crossing any lines, they add me instantly on Instagram. Like, because Shane and I talk about each other a lot to people that we
Yeah.
meet. And so they will add me almost instantaneously within 48 hours. They will add me on Instagram. The
Yeah.
other ones and the messy ones that usually don't end up sticking around for one reason or another, they will never add me. And that is their dead giveaway every single time. And I'll sit
Yeah.
back and I'll wait too, like, it's reached the 72nd hour. There wasn't an ad.
They're dead.
No, for real. So, and again, eventually they fall off. But that's a trait that I got from my mom. We can read through people like water. There's no, you will know I will know right off the bat who's a good friend to you and who's not a good friend to you.
And I feel like that's in my observations of, friends and acquaintances that have gone through dates and gone through relationships. I feel like that's maybe one thing in the community that a lot of gays struggle with, which is communication. To be able to communicate to your partner and say things like, hey, these are my boundaries, or hey, like, it's okay that you're maybe talking to that person, or all of that stuff. Like, I think that a lack of communication leads to a lot of breakups and toxicity within relationships within our community, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched relationships fall apart because the other person is just, they're so quiet and the other one is so overbearingly it's their way or no way. And those relationships usually don't last more than 2 years.
I
And
don't know
it's sad.
what it's like to have
What?
I don't know what it's like to have a relationship past 2 years. Which
But
is
like,
also a lie, because I've been in a relationship for 4.5 years. I don't know what it's like to have a gay relationship past 2 years.
interesting. Wait, okay, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
a topic for another conversation, because we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the LGBTQIA2 plus and every single one of those letters and what they mean, and why some of them don't get recognition because of the interior shaming of our own community. But we'll talk about that on another podcast. But we have reached almost the end of our podcast, and it is time for the
Oh no moment of the week. All
this
right.
is my favorite segment of the podcast. I think we should put this up every week on Instagram on the reels, so
I think we
people just
should.
know what our issues are.
Yes, apologies to the Aussies out there. I did have one of my dear friends, Ewan, mention that we spelled "oh no" wrong last week, because you really have to have that AUR of like "oh no," like that's the thing.
Arnar.
Oh no,
Sorry.
yeah. Sorry, Ewan. Apologize to Ewan.
Sorry, Ewan. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Aussies. Americans, they don't teach us anything in school. It's public education and it's non-funded, and we have no backing to help us out. So my apologies, as I've learned everything through Wikipedia and illiterate teachers in the world.
Okay, as your apology to Ewan, tell us what your oh no moment is of the week.
My no or moment of the week was I was in the gym. I was feeling myself. I was getting a good pump in. I was like, I'm gonna max out. My straight gym crush walks in. Him and his girlfriend are in there all the time. They're like a beautiful couple. They are gorgeous, right? Both just banging bodies. I'm like, wow, you guys are great. And I told that the first time I met them, I said, "Are you guys a couple?" And they said, "Yeah." I was like, "You guys are so hot. Like, you need to be on television." And they started laughing, and we kind of kept intact. Anyways, so I'm walking towards him because I was gonna ask him for a spot because I'm like, yeah, we're finally on the same level. And then I caught a whiff of my own. I forgot to put deodorant on. And he sees me walking. At this point, we're already making eye contact and there's already commitment. And so I'm like, I guess I just gotta walk up and I'm like holding my arms like this. And I'm like, hey man, what's up? You know, he's like, how are-" I was like, I was gonna ask you for a spot, but I forgot to put deodorant on, so it's real fresh today. And he was like, oh, it's cool. Like, don't worry about it. I can still give you a spot. I said, no, I'm okay. We're good. Well, I'll catch you next week when I'm maxing out again. But we're not gonna do this today because I normally don't smell like this, and I actually hate it. I'm gonna go wash my armpits in the sink. So I washed my armpits in the sink, and I left a little bit of soap in there just to make sure I didn't smell for the rest of my workout. Mortified, just
I,
mortified.
I'm glad that you because I thought you were about to say you were making eye contact and then you just turned around. I'm glad you committed. You
No,
committed.
I look. I get awkward if there is an eye contact and there's no commitment. I'm just like, you gotta own it now. So I said, tight as a penguin, and I walked her right.
Okay, so we're
bad.
knowing that I think we touched on the first episode, feet wasn't your thing, so I'm guessing body odor isn't your thing either.
Mm, mm.
Oh.
I will. No green emoji. Barf. Can't do it.
Oh
Sorry, gays.
god.
Smells are
Sorry, guys.
not my thing.
Again, it's pheromones. If you're attracted to the pheromones, then their smell is like, ooh, Louis Vuitton. You're like, still no,
No.
still for me, it's a yes. Again, if I'm attracted to them.
Look, if
Um,
you have a good sense, like if you have a good sweat sense, it's because you are taking care of yourself, right? I take care of myself too, but like I have curly hair, and so my hair is
mm,
just a little bit more coarse than the regular hair. So like we're just
fair
gonna leave
enough.
it at that.
Fair enough.
What is your honor moment of the week?
So my own moment of the week. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of our friends, fans, family, new followers, people that have been liking the reels. We've done a bit of social media this week. We've done a bit of social media on Instagram, and we've gotten a lot of positive likes and a lot of positive reception from what we've posted on Instagram this week. And I need to turn notifications off on my phone because there was a point one day where it was like, blah blah blah, liked your reel. Your reel has 5,000 views now. And I was like, oh my God,
5,000 views. Yeah. You had
maybe
5,000 views.
literally. And so that was when I had my oh no moment. I was like sitting there at my desk and thought, oh no, Russ, we gotta do this. We gotta give the people what they
What they
want.
want.
You got to give them what they want. And that was an oh no moment for me. It's scary, but at the same time, I want to give the people what they want.
Should we consider shooting a calendar once we hit our first 1,000 followers? I can dress
Yes.
up as Santa. You could be a reindeer.
It's time. Mariah Carey, it's time.
And
You
you could
know,
be
Mariah Carey.
Cupid, and I'll just be the arrow.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in with us. Next week, we're talking about daddy issues. We're talking about
Yes.
daddy issues next week. So if when you're done and when you're through watching this, please send us your daddy
Yes.
issues or why you're attracted to older men. Is it the younger guys, as we talked today, that are insecure and just don't do it for you, and you find yourself in a more mature place and you want to just idolize the person that you're with?
Yeah.
What is it? Why do gays have daddy issues? We're going to break it down. We're going to come with some stats, which I haven't really brought for the past couple episodes, but we're going to bring stats and we're going to talk about it. I'll bring the American stats. Paul will bring the Aussie stats, and we will talk about those, and we'll share your stories on why you're
Yes.
attracted to older men. And you could be attracted to older men, but did it work out? Did it not work out? Have you ever been with someone who's older, and how did it go? We would love to hear your stories.
Yes.
Send them into at Good Day Gay Podcast, or you can send them to Paul's Instagram, which is showing right below his name. You can send it to my Instagram, which is showing between my name. Again, like it, share the reels, subscribe. Once we reach 1,000 followers, we are going to figure out how we're going to shoot in the same location.
We're going to do it.
Until then, gays, we will see you next week. Sharp on Saturday in the US and Sunday in Australia. I'm still trying to figure out the time zone. Anyways, y'all, take your prep from Discovery. We'll see you next time.